That's my Aunt Tisa.
Two coal plants in Arkansas have received an exemption from the Trump administration and will have 2 additional years to comply with updated clean air regulations. As part of an amendment to the Clean Air Act, former President Joe Biden required that additional limits on mercury, lead, arsenic, and other toxins be in place by 2027. President Donald Trump has given 68
Not really.
Okay, so
and 2 years
It's
to
there,
comply.
but it's not there.
yeah, it's like, it's a title.
Says while Trump is within his
You guys be good.
constitutional
See you
rights,
later.
Be
the
safe.
bill
I
is
like her ink.
perplexing.
I've been looking at it.
Just got this one done. It's almost done.
Oh, it's so much. I love the butter. I love it. Who does yours? That goes 7-6.
The exemptions go on the heels of a Trump executive order to boost coal production. The 2 Arkansas locations of the White Bluff plant between Little Rock and Pine
His name is
Bluff
Ben.
and the Plum
His name is what?
plant
Benny.
in northeast
Benny. I
Arkansas.
remember that.
The White Bluff plant is
We'll see you
scheduled
guys.
for retirement in 2029. Members of the Sierra Club said they'll urge operators to curb the pollutants coming from the facilities. Mendoza says research has shown that exposure to pollutants is responsible for countless deaths, heart attacks, and asthma.
More mercury in fish, more mercury in water, more advisories against eating fish in certain rivers and streams and lakes. Mercury is a serious neurotoxin that causes harm to newborn children. Babies are harmed if their mother is exposed to too much mercury.
The Trump administration invited power plants to apply for the exemption. The president also wants to exempt coal mining projects from environmental reviews, remove restrictions that stop companies from mining coal on federal lands, and require the Energy Department to provide funds to support developing coal technologies. I'm Freya Ross, Arkansas News Service. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Yes! I finally got my first phone!
It is exciting. Let's learn a few things about online safety first.
Thank you, Jesus. I always get this person's first name.
We are a non-commercial, listener-supported radio station. We are able to stay on the air and offer unique programming because listeners like you become members and pledge $5, $10, or $20 every month to support us. This is the month to become a KBF member. Go on our website, kbf.org, and sign up.
It's
today.
Kilmar.
We're not too proud to beg. We need
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, you heard the music. It's a little after 9 o'clock. It's Thursday morning here on the corner of 21st and Main Street. So it's time for the workplace. Glad to have you here. Glad that you're doing well. And just so happy that you're showing up this morning. I'm your host for the workplace, Toney Orr. And as always, in the studio is the Reverend Dr. I can't get that. She gets that pastor. I can't get that, Reverend. I can't get it.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, Denise down there. How you doing this morning?
I'm great. Thank you, Grand Rising Humans.
Okay. So we're going to get right into our announcements. I just had one, then I'm going to allow Denise to get hers in. Town Hall stop Medicaid work requirements. Arkansas is asking the federal government to approve work requirements that could impact your Medicaid coverage. Thousands of Arkansans lost their health coverage in 2018 due to this failed policy. Work requirements take health insurance away from people, making it harder to work. Join us to learn more about the proposed work requirements and how you can voice your concerns. This is co-hosted by Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families and Arkansas Community Organizations. It's going to be Tuesday, April 29th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. at the Arkansas Education Association, 1500 West 4th Street in Little Rock, Arkansas. So that's once again Tuesday, April 29th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. at the Arkansas Education Building, 1500 West 4th Street. Denise?
I don't have any announcements, but I do have a question. Are we going to play dominoes this year?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Okay, I keep getting called.
Yeah, I think normally we start around May.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Normally we get started around May. Sometimes the weather is so crazy in April, but yes, when I sit down and look at a target Friday, then I will make sure that I get that information out to our listeners.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I'm kind of nervous. Y'all know when Denise is being nice to me. Oh, yeah. You know your head turn like, what's up with this?
That's fair.
What's up with this? So what one of it's so many things going on, and as I was preparing the past couple of days for the show, every time I thought I would focus in on one thing to talk about, something else would happen, and it was so much. You had Mr. Abrego, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was an American citizen, who was deported to El Salvador, and been trying to get him back. The courts have said you have to bring him back. Even the president of El Salvador, when questioned about it and asked, he's being illegally detained, he said yes. He said, well, and he should be sent back. He said yes. Then they asked him, well, why don't you send him back? He said, we're being paid to keep him. Which reminds me, when you get convicted of a crime that you're innocent of, and even when they find out that you're innocent, that's why I love Byron Stevenson.
Bondi.
The Equal Justice Institute.
Oh, Brian
Stevenson. That's what I love about him. because he went, his whole mission was to go. And I know there were times when he found that this person was illegally incarcerated. And the court still would say, well, a jury of his peers convicted him. Well, they convicted him on some false information. They convicted him because they didn't have the proper information. And we talked about this on Tuesday. They convicted him because we know there is racial prejudice in the criminal justice system. And that's crazy when you find that you have made a wrong decision, but you refuse to correct it. And so it's this whole thing that the El Salvadoran president, like I said, he's like, I'm getting paid.
And I feel like that's the whole American design, right? That we do wrong, and not only do we not want to correct it, we don't even want to acknowledge it. As a matter of fact, we're going to tell lies about it, try to cover it up, try to erase it, try to get you to forget it, try to pretend like it didn't happen, and continue to lie to ourselves about how great we are. Like, that just sounds like America to me.
Yeah. And so what I want to talk about this morning, I want to get your opinions on it. I want to get your input. So right now, and I was reading the paper this morning, and it was announced yesterday that they are pushing, remember, for about the last 4 or 5 years, they have been pushing this real ID, for Arkansas and really for people across the country. The federal government said you have to have this real ID. In order to get this real ID, there's certain documentation that you have to get it. Some people call it the enhanced ID. So you have to have a birth certificate, a passport, I think a bill in your name, things that can show that you are a legal American citizen. So Arkansas has decided that they want to push this because they said, well, May 7th is now the deadline for this. And so they're pushing, they're saying that, okay, we're going to open up DFNA offices to accommodate this. But they're only opening up DFA offices in certain cities. Little Rock, Fayetteville, I think Jonesboro, and I forget the other two. But it's just one office. They're going to open up one office. So that means you have to travel to that office, and you have to have all this documentation, which becomes problematic in a lot of ways because now you have cut the staff at the Department of Health around the country. You have cut certain services that would help you get this information. Social Security offices are closing up. So it's going to be difficult for a lot of people to try to get this information. And the reason I bring this up, going back to Mr. Abreu, the president wants to have where you have to have citizenship papers or something that shows that you are a citizen. That means that if you get stopped on the street and you don't have the proper ID, there's a great possibility that they could say that you're not an American citizen and deport you. People say, well, no. That's a far stretch. And I'm like, no, it's not a far stretch. Because if you start connecting the dots, if you start looking, this is not something that is just happening now. This, if you look at history, and especially history of this country, that's something that has been in place before, where especially if you were an enslaved person and you were living in another state, you had to show that you had papers that showed that you were free. And even if you showed papers, sometimes they didn't care. So it's important because we're looking at so many people are focusing on illegal immigrants, as they say, people who are undocumented. That's what they're focusing on, but they're not broadening it out farther. That this can affect so many other people. You have students who are here, who are naturalized citizens in this country who are now being deported because they protested. Whether it's pro-Palestinian, whether it was protesting against the government, they are being deported. So many states have already put in laws against protesting to make it a misdemeanor. In some states, it's a felony that if you're protesting and that city or that state feels like your protest is can be considered domestic terrorism, or considered anti-government, they have the right to arrest you. But what happens if they decide, if they see you protesting, they take a picture of you, they take a video of you, and decide as you're walking down the street, or you're in your office, you at your church, and they come in, grab you, put you in a van, don't give you due process, and next thing you know, you end up in El Salvador, Honduras, or Guatemala, where this president has made deals with to keep prisoners from the U.S. there. We're going to pay you to keep our prisoners. And also, he's even suggested that we take the violent criminals in American prisons or jails and send them to these other countries. So I know a lot of people are saying, well, that's Mr. Garcia. That's them. That's them. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's them. But in reality, if you connect the dots, it has something to do with you. Because this, to me, this is the test case. If we can get away with this, we can get away with a lot more. And that's one of the problems that the Supreme Court, when they gave all this immunity to the president, to this president, when they did that, now they're coming back and going back to what I said earlier about correcting your mistakes or correcting your wrong. They were wrong, but they don't want to correct it. They don't want to step back and say, you know what, let us take this back up because now it's bad. So how do you feel about this whole issue with Mr. Garcia, Mr. Abreu, and this deportation? Do you feel it's going to open up, as they say, a can of worms, or it's going to open up or broaden out to where it would affect Black people, where it would affect so many other people? How do you feel about it? Do you care about it? Is it something that you think about? Is it something that you just turn a blind eye to it, or is it something that is a concern to you? Phone lines are open 501-433-0088, 501-433-0088.
Yes, I do want to let you know, those of us who are unable to go to one of those revenue offices during the week, I want you to know that this Saturday, on April 26th, this Saturday, there are some offices that will be open for your convenience so that you can get your real ID in case you are unable to go during the week. The Little Rock Revenue Office, 1900 West 7th Street. The Fayetteville Revenue Office, 3086 West Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Jonesboro Revenue Office, 206 Southwest Drive. Texarkana Revenue Office, 801 East 4th Street. The Monticello Revenue Office, 501 West Gaines. So that's Little Rock, Fayetteville, Jonesboro, Texarkana, and Monticello. Those are places where you can go and get your real ID this Saturday in case you are unable to make it through the week. And you will need proof of legal presence. Were you born inside the United States or outside? You need to prove where you were born. You have to have proof of identity, like an ID, a marriage certificate, your military ID. Maybe you have a concealed handgun license, a photo of an ID from school. Those are what you could use, some of the things you can use for proof of identity. You have to have your social security number, which needs social security number. So you need your card, and you have to prove Arkansas residency. So those are the things that you have to have in order to get that ID. And you can do that on this Saturday in Jonesboro, Texarkana, Monticello, Little Rock, and Fayetteville.
And with me, why not have all the offices open? You only have these limited offices, and then You have an office open in Monticello, but you won't open an office in Pine Bluff. You know, and Pine Bluff is bigger than Monticello. You know, I can see Texarkana, I can see Fayetteville, I can see Jonesboro, but even in those large areas, you need more than one office open. Because now you're going to have people like, oh, let me get this done. And now what's going to happen? You're going to get there, line going to be snaked all over the place. It's going to be, you're going to look and say, man, it's going to take me 3 or 4 hours to get through here, or at least a couple hours. And what do you say? Hey, I'll try to come back during the week. I'll come back at another time. You know, so you're framing this as a convenience to get it done, but you actually are making it inconvenient because you really want people just to turn away.
Yeah, I get that, but I also think that I do agree with you. I really do. And I feel like if you know that's the case and you know there's nothing that we can do about it right now, I say do like I do. Take your book, take your journal, take your game on your phone, and just, you know, maximize the use of your time while you're there. Because if you don't do it, imagine the inconvenience of saying, forget you, I ain't studying you, and then you try to go out of you try to catch a flight and you can't. Imagine that inconvenience.
Yeah, and it's not even about, you know, catching flights on one aspect of it, but you can't enter into any federal building. I'm pretty sure they're going to make it to where you can't enter any state government building eventually without this ID. You know, and I do agree with you also that there are things you can do to occupy your time while you're waiting. But there are a lot of people who still work on, you have to work on the weekends, you have to work on a Saturday. There are a lot of people who, even if they've worked all week, here's an opportunity on Saturday. I got to get all these things done, you know, on these 2 days that I had off. I had to get a lot of stuff done because during the week I got kids, I got other responsibilities, I got work, and this is the only time. Yes, thank y'all. Yes, it's good that you do this, but you need to do it in a way that can service everybody, give everybody an opportunity. And that's why I said, why not open? There's a revenue office in each city.
They're not interested in serving everybody. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
They're not concerned about inconveniencing you. They're not concerned about how much you have to do during the week. They're not concerned about your family. Like, who? If you're thinking that, then you're disillusioned. They don't care.
No, I do understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that yeah, they don't care.
No.
Yeah, they don't care. And so that's the flip side I think I'm trying to show is that because they're not doing it this way, then they're showing you that they don't.
Yeah, and you started the conversation with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who has been wrongly deported, and so they are saying, well, we know we're wrong, but we're not going to correct it. So we're showing, to me, you're laying out the case for everything that's happening right now proves to you that this administration does not care about you. And so and for us to continue to be hopeful in this moment, oh no, maybe he's going to turn around, maybe he's going to correct his course, maybe he's going to see that the error of his ways. I just don't think that you should put your hope in that.
No.
And I'm saying you,
no.
I'm not saying you, Tony.
Oh,
I'm
I know.
saying you,
I know.
anybody.
I know. And that's why and that's why I'm asking the question. How do I listen? How do you, as a listening audience, what is your opinion on it? What do you think about it? How do you feel about it? Because whatever they do, and Denise, you said this numerous times. You have said this numerous times. Whatever they do to somebody, to another ethnic group, to another race, when it comes to Black people, it's coming. You know, it's coming down the tracks, and it's going to be in a lot of ways worse for Black people than it is for the other race.
Yeah, and it's not just coming down the track. We are the target. When you think about you were talking about basically having having your papers, your free papers to show whether or not you were enslaved or free. When we talk about how somebody can capture you, can kidnap you, all of that is what has happened to us as Black folks, members of the African diaspora, since we got into relationship with this country. Well, not a relationship, but since they came and kidnapped us. And so all of this is when Trump talks about making America great again, that's his desire. He wants to go back to such a time as that, when you have full control over a Black person's body as property, and you can do whatever you want to do. So when you say this is a test case, yes, it's a test case using an immigrant so that we could be distracted and not think about how it's happening and how it is affecting Black folks. And that's what we need to make sure we continue to drill down for Black people. This is about you. This is not about immigration. This is not about El Salvadorians. This is about Black folks, and we need to keep our eyes on that.
Yeah, and you have to be careful also. That's why I said you have to connect these dots. You have to be able to open your eyes. So yesterday, there was this press conference. There was this gathering in New York where the mayor, Eric Adams, along with immigration, were touting how they had these Venezuelan, supposedly or alleged Venezuelan gang members who they could say, yes, see, they're gang members and they need to be deported. They need to be sent back, put out this country. But it goes back to the same thing, is that even though you think they are, there's a thing called due process. You still have to prove that they are. You just can't go off the word of somebody. And now you have Eric Adams. And remember, for those who don't remember, Eric Adams was, during the Biden administration, he was indicted on bribery, all types of different charges. But when President Trump got in office, they told him that if you allow us, ICE, if you cooperate with ICE and you cooperate with this administration to go to schools, churches, and anywhere else to find suspected, undocumented people, then we'll drop these charges. We'll let these charges go away. We won't prosecute you. So now, Eric Adams is now in the grip of this administration. So he's going to dance to what they want, and now they're using him. You look at which would, in some people's mind, there's a brother up there who's going along with them. So maybe I'm wrong. Since they got the brother up there, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to go along with this deportation. Maybe I need to go along. Maybe I need to accept this, because if the brother is up there in agreement with him, then I can be in agreement with him. But that is the distraction.
Well, I think that, first of all, skin don't mean kin, and we say that all the time. So just because a person looks like you doesn't mean that they have your best interest in mind.
Right. Call you there.
Peace and love, y'all. Brother Zoom being here. How are you this morning?
Doing well this morning.
Hello?
Yeah, doing well this morning.
Okay, good. Have you ever been when the police come in and raid one of those working spots?
Yeah, I have.
And I have too. I've been to at least 3 different ones. And when they raid, they really don't have no mercy on those guys. And you're talking about guys would jump off of buildings. Running like rats and roaches. It's so disheartening to see the kind of fear they put in these guys. But a lot of times I'm thinking, thank the government for giving us a little break.
For real?
I know we're not getting much of a break, but at least we're not being run down and chased around like a rat in a cage and stuff. And that's what's going on. But the biggest thing that used to get me about those raids, within a week, sometimes less than a week or 2 weeks later, the people they want back here, they're gonna be right back here on the job, clocking in like they never left. Now that's what used to get me, how some of those employers could afford to have those guys that they needed, or they thought they needed so bad, have them right back on the line. But I had one Indian saying, now they were after the Mexicans and the other guys. Now this Indian friend of mine, he came up missing because he looked like a Mexican. And to this day, we had not seen him yet. Now, a lot of times, I think a lot of this stuff is a lot of organ harvesting and all kind of atrocities going on about this over the border. And we know the white supremacists are the ones that create borders, they create different races, and they create all this stuff for division purposes. But at the same time, going back to the power they have to do what they want to do to who they want to do to it. Anyway, thank white folks for giving us a break for a while. Again, peace and love to all.
I don't think you're being given a break. We are still being run down in the street.
Yeah.
We are still being killed. I don't see how we've been given a break. The media might not be reporting on us as much, but we definitely aren't giving a break. I want to get this message in from this comment in from Deidre. Remember that Auschwitz is in Poland, not Germany. Also, before the Jews, the Nazis killed developmentally disabled people and gays. This is a rerun. Consider yourself the new Jew.
Just for a second, thank you, Deidre, for that. Because it sparked what you were talking about when, I don't know if anybody, if any of you heard the press conference this week, maybe this week or last week, where Robert Kennedy Jr. was talking about, vaccines and a lot of other things. But the one thing he said, he talked about autism, and he said that people with autism, he said these children with autism, these people with autism, they'll never drive, they'll never go to school, they'll never amount it, they'll never, basically saying, they'll never do nothing. Never do nothing. And it was so ironic because Elon Musk is autistic. So you're saying that autistic people would never amount to anything. They will always just basically be nothing. But now Elon Musk, who is running basically the government right now, is autistic. And I just thought that was interesting. And that's why I said a lot of times we don't connect the dots. We hear something, just like when Solarby said that we got a break. Well, no, we don't get a break. Because when you could be standing outside on the corner, and this has happened to me and some of my friends before, where when I was going to college in architecture in Washington, there were two areas. There was one part of the city where the white students would gather on Saturday night. They would gather. It was by the Sonic. They would sit there. They would be drinking beer. They would just have their good time. And the police would just drive through and do nothing. On the other end of architecture, there was a car wash where we hung out. We wouldn't have no beer. We knew we ain't gonna be drinking. We ain't gonna be smoking no weed. We ain't gonna be playing our music too loud, but we're just there. And they would come to us and say, listen, you have to move because you're loitering. And we would say, well, what about the white kids up on this other street? And the first thing they would do is throw the lights on and say, you have to go. If you're not going to go, you're going to be arrested. So now we're scattering. We have to go. So when you say that we get a break, no, we don't get a break. It's still the same thing. When you talk about, and that's why this real ID thing is so concerning, because remember, President Trump wants to bring out a nationwide stop and frisk. So if they stop you and you don't have that ID, that so-called real ID, or that's your citizenship paper, they can basically say you are not a citizen. And they can say you're close enough to look like a Hispanic. You're close enough to look like you're from the Middle East. You're close enough to look like, and we're going to deport you. Once we get you out the country, then you got to fight to get back in. And who's going to fight for you?
I want to read Denise and Representative Denise Ennett's clapback to calling it clapback because we in the era of Jasmine Crockett, so every time about the clapbacks. But she responded to Secretary Kennedy for what he said about children with autism, and this is what she said: "From a mother of a 16-year-old with autism, Secretary Kennedy, please stop using families like mine to push a false and harmful narrative. What it does is stigmatize people with autism and distract from the real work, which is ensuring access to support, education, and inclusion. My Cameron is not a tragedy. He's smart, funny, and deeply loved. If Secretary Kennedy truly cared, he would stop spreading fear and start listening to the people who actually live this every day."
And thank you, Representative Enid, because it touches me too. It touches all of us, especially those of us who are Black. My twins are autistic. And the same thing Secretary Kennedy said in his speech is what was said to me about my twins. They'll never be able to drive, they'll never make it through public school, they'll never work, they'll never do this, they'll never do that. So they're never, they're 3 years old, 3 and 4 years old during that time. And they telling me this is what's gonna happen. But they graduated from high school, got through college, they're still working on other degrees. But they both got associate degrees. They drive, they travel, they do everything. So don't tell me this. But if we believe that, if we bite into that narrative, then once we eat of it, and then we find out, oh, this isn't good. Now either you're gonna regurgitate it or you're gonna keep it. And there's so much stuff we have to regurgitate out so that we can start feeding ourselves with the right narrative instead of listening to this instead of taking this food that's been forced on us. And so going back to this, caller, you on the air. Caller? Okay, caller, call back. Sorry I missed your call. But we have to start paying attention to what's going on, because this thing is, when you start to look at this, it's gonna get really, really crazy. And either you're gonna find yourself on one side or the other. And you need to figure out what side are you gonna be on, because it's gonna affect all these different things. Are going to affect all of it. When you look at what's going on with all these federal workers, when you look at what's going on with the deportees, when you look at the announcement I read, they want to put a work requirement on health insurance. It's going to get to a point when they talk about these people, these seasonal workers who come in and work in agriculture. You're getting rid of all of them. When you talk about workers who do in construction, and they're trying to deport them. So now they're going to look at you and say, hey, there's a job for you. And you say, well, hold up, I'm not going out there in that field. I'm not working. You can't pay me what you paid them. And they're going to take it or leave it. And so it's going to put people in dire situations, but at the end of the day, it's going to roll right down to Black people. And so those are the things we have to understand. Those are things we have to look at. And those are the things that we have to connect the dots to.
And when we talk about Mr. Garcia, we think about connecting the dots. His wife has had to be moved to a safe house, because the DHS, Department of Human Services, posted their address on social media. And so to me, when you think about what used to happen to us in the 60s, in the height of the civil rights movement, around the lynching era, when people the white mobs would come to our homes to kidnap us, to set our homes on fire, to rape our women and our men, and just to do all manner of terroristic things to us. So when they start talking about domestic terrorism, and they want to say that people who are protesting are terrorists, and when they want to call people members of gangs, I'm like, well, what about the gang that includes Trump, Elon Musk, Mike Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos? What about that gang? What about the terrorism of when people do go out to protest peacefully and the cops show up in riot gear, in military gear, ready to deploy all kinds of the tear gas and all of these things? Like, it's amazing to me how hypocritical they are, and how we continue to not connect those dots to say everything that they are doing right now, as Deidre said, is a rerun. We have seen this before, and the target has not changed, and that's Black folks.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to have to leave early. Got some business to take care of, but the show will go on with Denise. Just think about what I proposed to you this morning, and I will see you Monday. We're down with Dick. Talk to you later.
I guess we could have been a little more smooth with the transition, but you know how it goes. So Toney said he really wants to continue the conversation. So we're waiting for you to call in to voice your opinion about what is happening with Mr. Garcia, Kilmar Brego Garcia, who is in El Salvador, because he has been labeled by the United States as a member of a foreign domestic gang that's associated with the MS-13, and also, what's the name of it? It's another gang that they say that he's participating in. Now, there are no documents have been filed in any court, whether in El Salvador or whether in the United States. No filings can anyone unearth, reveal, expose, FOIA, to show and to prove that Mr. Garcia has done anything except exist, to be in the crosshairs of the governments of El Salvador and the United States. So when we think about that, and we think about this blatant violation of rights, it is what we see not just with Mr. Garcia, not just with Black folks, but especially people who are of trans experience. Their existence is threatened every single day. And when you begin to talk about that population of people, which is I think it's only 2% of the people who are openly living as a person of trans experience. And I don't really know if that's the true number. The last number I remember was about between 2 and 5%. So that's a small percentage of the population, and yet they are being targeted because of who they are. And when you think about that particular population of folks, and you look at them and say, okay, if we simply focus on this population, the population of people of trans experience, which ones in that particular population are the most vulnerable? And it will be the Black trans woman. And what is happening to her? She can't even walk out the door without fearing for her life. She cannot even live her truth without worrying about if somebody's going to kill her. And it's not just because of who she is, but it's because of the rhetoric around their population. The same thing that Representative Enid is saying. If you begin to use this language and you begin to tout this narrative that is false, that is not based in any kind of accurate understanding of anything, and then people believe you because you are the puppet that the government has chosen. In this case, we're talking about Kennedy. You are the puppet that the government has chosen. And so folks who are all excited about the Trump administration, you are listening to every word that comes out of their mouth, and then you begin to target your own family. And when I say your own family, I'm talking about your own human family. And what would make you think that anything that comes out of somebody's mouth that spurs you to violence is something that you should listen to? And yet that is what we do, because that is what the government does. I'm going to call this man a terrorist. I'm going to call you a worthless human, when he was talking about the people with autism, that you're not going to ever be amount to anything. Like, I'm going to give all of these names to you, because once I name you in ways that dehumanize you, then it gives people license to treat you any kind of way. The first thing that we do is make sure we label you as something or somebody who is not worthy of being in the same space with us. So I'm going to label you autistic. I'm going to label you trans. I'm going to label you criminal, just so that I can make sure that people know that you are not worth living in our society. Caller, you're live on the air at the workplace. Thanks for calling.
Hello?
Yes, caller, you're on the air. You're on the air. We hear you.
Yes. I would like to say that, what we call street gang organization, various things, do not start from the bottom up. It starts from the top down. United States infiltrated, started all kinds of organizations like that and all over the world, really. So, maybe, I can look at with the level of the street, but the top is where it's all coming from. And another thing, I'm not a Christian person, but they look at, who running this world, says Satan run this world, period, in more than one spot. And Satan is going to run it until one powerful enough to overcome this. And we caught up in it. We just going to do the best we can to that. Because the government is not going to change their own self. They're not going to do that. They're not going to stop their power structure. And that's just the way it is.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate you calling in all the time. I can't wait to meet you. So the caller mentions, he says himself, you heard him, that he is not a person who professes to be a Christian, but he does know something about the Bible. He knows that in the Bible it says that the enemy is the ruler of this world. That's what it says. And I know that to be true. That is what the Bible says. But I was talking to a friend about this just Sunday, and I was talking about how interesting it is to me that as powerful of a book that the Bible can be, we choose to teach it in a way that renders Christians powerless. So even though it tells you that the enemy is the ruler of this world, even though it says that, and what we teach and what we teach behind that is, oh, well, if your life is going wrong, that means the enemy is on your track. If your life is going wrong, that means that you don't have enough faith. If your life is going wrong, that means you're not paying enough tithes. That's what we teach, to keep people dependent, to keep people fearful, and to keep people paying for the pastor's hustle. That's what we do. But that same Bible says, but greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. So the Bible turns right around and says, yes, it is true that you got somebody running this world that is powerful, and is powerful in a negative way. You got somebody running this world who is your enemy. You got somebody running this world and who is your opponent. That is true. But you don't have to be afraid, because that same Bible says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. So we have everything that we need to overthrow the enemy that's in the office. But what are we doing instead? We're saying, oh my goodness, what's going to happen to us? Oh my goodness, I might lose my job. Oh my goodness. That's what we're saying. And all I know, look, I can't speak for everybody, but Black folks, you know what it's like to lose a job for no reason other than being yourself. And what do? We figure it out. We braid hair in our homes. We start cooking and we sell the dinners. We start bartering with trading with people. Give me some sugar for your broccoli. We know how to live like this. And so I don't understand, from a Black perspective, why Black folks are scared. And I definitely don't understand from a Christian perspective why Christians are scared. Now, I'm not talking about the extreme Christians. I know I'm talking about the neoliberals. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about y'all regular folk that go to church every Sunday with this Bible. Do y'all still take y'all Bible to church? I don't really see nobody walking around with a Bible. Well, I guess you got it on your phone. Yeah, you got it on your phone. And so you have your Bible right there. And so we have to stop letting pastors and ministers and priests and whoever curate for us what our faith ought to be. That's why people tell you to read it for yourself. Read it for yourself and you'll realize that some of it don't make no sense at all. You can read it for yourself and say, oh, well, some of this I can actually use. You can read it for yourself and say, I ain't doing that. And you can read it for yourself and say, but this is what I'm going to do. So we are not exercising the power that we have from all of the many places we can pull from because we are too busy allowing this administration to bully us. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that we need to take this bullying seriously or else you're going to end up like Garcia. I'm not saying don't take it seriously. I'm just saying we don't have a reason to be afraid of it, and we don't have a reason to believe that we cannot change it, that we cannot dismantle it, that we cannot destroy it. We absolutely can if we decide that that's going to be our goal. But what's happening to us is that we are living in complicity. We are complicit in this system, this very system that's targeting all of us. We are complicit in it because we have allowed it to become the very source of our livelihood. So when you have a mayor like Adams, who has done all the things that he has done, which has, with all of his own behavior now has him caught up in a place where he has to sell his soul in order to preserve his own life. And so many of us are doing the same thing. We refuse to stand up. We refuse to make a stink about it. We refuse to challenge things because we cannot afford to lose this relationship that we have. This abuse, as abusive as it is, as violent as it is, as non-reciprocal as it is, we are still clinging to it because our lives depend on it, because we have put ourselves in a position to have to depend on the government. What happens, and this is what I keep asking us, if we go back, especially as Black folks, to the way we used to live outside of the system? Then there's nothing that you can say to me. We can be like Harvard in this moment. I don't care what you say. I am independent. I am liberated. I am free. You do not control me. You don't get to tell me what to do. I don't need your money. I don't need your influence. I don't need anything from you. I'm fine all by myself. I got me. And if we would get to the point where we would stop entangling ourselves, because what happens is we get the job and we rise up in the job until we making a decent amount of money to ourselves, whatever you feel like is decent. I don't know. Some people think it's 50,000, some people think it's 60, some people think it's 70, some people think it's 6 figures, whatever you think your decent figure is. And so now you've climbed up the ranks, and so now you have this wonderful job, you're making all of this money. And what happens when you make money? Like, it is clear, the research shows that most of us, I want to say 99% of us, the more money you make, the more money you spend. And the more money you spend, the less money you save. The less money you save, the less sustainable you are, self-sustainable you are, because your money is tied up in all of the things. I know people right now who make 6 figures right now. They are actively making 6 figures right now. And if you asked them for $5,000, they wouldn't be able to give it to you. Now, wait a minute. You've been making 6 figures. The people that I know, you've been making 6 figures for at least the last 5 years. At least the last 5 years. And when we ask you to join us in living outside the system, and let's talk about what that means, to buy a cow and to have the cow butchered and slaughtered, and to talk about the cost of that. And let's just say that's going to cost, pretty much about $5,000 by the time you buy the cow. You got to pay for the butchering, you got to pay for the processing, you got to pay for all of that. So in some cases, we're talking about $3,000 to $5,000. And I say, okay, we want to, this one cow will give more than one family, depending on the size of the family, enough food to eat for an entire year. We need somebody to give us $5,000. You've been making six figures for the last 5 years. Will you join us in this? Will you give us $5,000? Well, I ain't got, I ain't got it like liquid like that. Well, how do you got it? Because you don't own your own business. So how you got it? And so these are the conversations we have to start asking ourselves now. What can we do? What can I do? Just look in the mirror. Let's be like Michael Jackson. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. What can I do to divest from this system? How can I begin to take steps every single day to make sure that if I am a target of the government, they can't get me? Because you can't get me because I'm not doing it. Well, that doesn't matter. You can't get me because I can't because this government can get you where you are. So that's not the goal. The goal is to make sure that you are not dependent on this government for anything. And I'm not talking about welfare. I'm not talking about SNAP. I'm not talking about any of those benefits that were designed to give people a hand up. We have now relegated these social programs to be tools that people who are dishonest use to get over on the government. That's not the case at all. The biggest entity that gets over on the people is the government. It's the government that's getting over on us, not us getting over on them. We have to be crystal clear about that. So I'm not talking about depending on the government in terms of that. I'm talking about there was a time, and there is still time now, for you to sit with yourself and center yourself and think about all the gifts and graces and talents that you have. What can you do to become your own business owner, your own employer? Your own employer, and then you have employees. Like, you have right in your hands. You know how to build, you know how to grow, you know how to write, you know how to sing, you know how to play some kind of instrument. You know how to do something that can earn you money, and it can become your source of income. And because we have social media, because we have all these platforms, because we have the ability to do podcasts and live streams and create our own radio stations, you can also do stuff that will create passive income. Think of those of us who love to go to Zumba. You love to go to Zumba. Why not become a Zumba instructor? And you don't even have to work at a gym. You can get certified to be on live stream. And what you can do is market yourself through a teasing advertisement, put it out there, invite people to come to your class, charge them $20. I don't know how much you're gonna charge. It's whatever you say you're gonna charge. I'm just using $20. Charge them $20 to go through your class that you have already uploaded online. So you got an hour's class up online that anybody in the world can pay to participate in while you over here doing something else. You might be running errands with your children. You might be coloring a page with your mama. You might be reading a book to your grandchild. You might be doing anything, and you are still making money. That's called passive income. There's so many ways that we can now have multiple streams of revenue that will keep us out of the grips of the government, because once they own you, they can do whatever they want to do with you. And so we have to know that we have the power. The power is in the hands of the people. I don't care what the government says. I don't care what the administration touts. The truth is the truth. The power lies with us. Calling you live on the air at KABF 88.3 FM. Thanks for calling. This is The Workplace.
Yes, one little quick thing I would like to say. We have people can tell you, history is a good thing to know, but history is so deep you never will know it all. Now, we have people that teach us, that can tell us all about all the figures in the Bible and all this, but the same person, you ask him how many bones in his own hand, and he can't even tell you. He can't tell you anything basically about his body, so when something goes wrong, he got to go to another doctor or somebody to tell him what's wrong with him, because he don't know himself. We do not know our greatness of our own selves. And history is good, But we need to be thinking about now, right now, in the present, and getting something in place for ourselves.
I agree
See,
with you.
to know God is to know yourself. Really. If you don't want to do that, then the whole thing, I just try to deal with me. I love my people, but I wish I could get them to wake up, but it looks like it's just a hell of a hard job.
It is a hard job. It is a hard job, caller. Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate your comments every single time. Don't stop calling in. And I cannot wait. I'm going to keep saying it till I meet you. I cannot wait to meet you. Yeah, so the caller is saying, listen, you got people who want to talk to you about God. You got people who want to talk to you about faith. You got people who want to talk to you about religion. You got people who want to talk to you about all the things that you should be believing in. But these people don't even know anything about themselves. First of all, they don't even recognize that they are God. This is the caller. I'm just paraphrasing the caller for those of you who might not have heard very well what he was saying. And then he was like, because, some of you, I don't even know how many bones are in your hand. And I just felt in my spirit that somebody out there was like, ouch, because I don't know. So there are 27 bones in your hand. So don't get distracted by their part. There are 27. Focus on the message from the caller. The message from the caller is we need to make sure that we are working right now to get ourselves out of the grips of the rhetoric, the religion, the politics, all of the stuff that has us bound right now. And I also want to say that not only should we be thinking, I agree with the caller. I just want to add to that not only should we be thinking about how we're going to do that now, but like Octavia Butler, she spent all of her time writing about the future of Black folks, like the future of our nation, the future of our society. Like we need to not only be thinking about the now, but we need to be looking ahead to our future. We don't talk enough about future. We absolutely do not talk enough about Black futurism. But yeah, let's do that. Let's think about how we can help ourselves now and how we can free ourselves for the future. Thank you all so much for joining us for The Workplace. You have been live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Please remember, if you want to live in a world that is more just, that is more peaceful, that is more inclusive, that is more equitable, we have got to learn how to live and love differently. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.
You're listening to KABF 88.3 FM in Little